So it's a good question. I think I saw China first in terms of what was happening in other countries because of China.
Yeah.
I went to Tonga before I went to China, and I could see the change that was happening. And again, because the layers were so thin, uh, you could see that there was economically something different. This wasn't normal economic competition. And that led me to look at what was behind the taking over of 80% of the retail sector in Tonga, which was having a very negative effect on Tonga. It drove out the local family shops, which functioned as a secondary social support network. If somebody didn't have baby formula for their kid, they could go to their cousin who ran a shop and get it effectively, on credit, or you know, they would be sustained by that group resource. But now you had recently arrived Chinese who were only going to spend 6 or 7 years in the country, who were amassing as much money as they could, who were definitely not going to be operating on credit, who were the quality of the products were lower. So you were they were sucking out the capital from the country at the same time as killing this local social network. And how could these poor families from Fujian suddenly afford to set up a shop in Tonga? It didn't. The economics were different, and that sort of made me look at the politics behind the economics. And so it became a little bit easier, I think, from that perspective. Again, in these very small, thin societies, you can see the mechanisms much more clearly to understand that this is not a normal country and it's not interacting with the rest of the world in a normal way. And so by the time you start looking at what's happening internally in China, at least for me, you could see the broad outlines of this very different economic and political structure. So that, for me, it was more starting to for looking at China from the outside and the deleterious effect it was having on other countries, even before you start looking at the what's happening on the inside, which is much more difficult and complex to see.